This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com. The only place to be in
universe. It is Through the Looking Glass. I am your co-host, Scott Criscuolo. I hope you are having a wonderful start to your summer. We are in July. We've got plenty of summer left. But tonight we are taking, most of our journeys that myself and my co-host, who of course I'll bring in a moment, our journeys are usually, like short little puddle jumpers through the looking glass to alternate universes. But we've been talking it over, and starting tonight, we are going to begin a long road trip. We're packing the Looking Glass family truckster, and we're driving to the alternate Wally world. Let me bring him in. He is the Thunder from Down Under, the maestro of Cronoso, Mr. Dave Hall. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Scott. I've thrown the sleeping bags in the back.
All right.
We've got the esky filled with a lot of beer, and we're ready to crack this road trip. We've got the playlists ready. We're ready for this road trip. I think it's going to be fun. It's good to be with you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us wherever you are around the world, everywhere between Australia and the US. We'll take anyone who wants to jump on board with us. So, it's good. It's good. You've been well?
I've been great. I have been good. We are in the throes of summer. 4th of July was nice here. We are enjoying the wrestling. Hope you're enjoying all of the stuff here on the network, and of course on our sister networks, No So with the Jenny Position, and of course Backbone as well. It was a busy weekend of wrestling. In fact, as we're recording right now, it hasn't finished. WWE Evolution is going on at the moment, and of course yesterday Friday night we had Supercard of Honor, ROH, and then Saturday we had Great American Bash. And we had AEW All In, and then, of course, we had Saturday night's main event. So a busy weekend of wrestling this weekend. But as we are on the road to MetLife and SummerSlam. How are things with you? It is very warm and muggy here in the Northeast.
Which means it's very cool and brisk down here in the southern hemisphere. Not as brisk as it gets up there, but no, we're just doing. No, I'm doing well. I'm having a little bit of time off work at the moment, just having a bit of a break. So it's nice just to kick back and relax and enjoy the opportunity to not have to get myself out of bed and go to work in the morning. So it's always good.
Yes, exactly. And so, as I was saying, Dave and I, of course, most of our episodes, actually all of our episodes, and God, we're coming up on what is this now? 40. I don't think we've hit our 50th yet. Although I think we will hit our 50th during this series. I think we're on, I don't know. I have a terrible memory. I think this is episode, I'm probably going to get it wrong. 47, probably, maybe 46, something like that. But it's been a great run. It'll be our 4-year anniversary in October?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
CM Punk was our first episode, if I remember correctly. And now look where he is. Who'd have thunk it, right? Who'd have thunk it when we premiered Through the Looking Glass that the alternate universe became the prime universe? Crazy.
It is. It's just amazing. Some of the. I think it'd be interesting going back. Some of the thought processes we had of the going forward side of things. I think a couple of them have come to fruition in a way, and it's always good fun and great. And like you said, as we're recording, everyone's in anticipation of Rhea Ripley main eventing Evolution, as an Australian should.
Yes.
The great Australian that she is. So,
I do think that at one point Rhea Ripley should come out to Outback Jack's theme.
Oh no!
Tiny kangaroo down, tiny kangaroo.
Not a chance.
Oh God, that might be a great Through the Looking Glass. Let's rebook Outback Jack. I don't think any universe could do that. Anyway, so as I was saying, almost every episode that we've ever done in in Dave's and my time Through the Looking Glass, whether it's a guy, a promotion, or a girl, a superstar, a promotion, a series of shows. Sadly, we've done tributes for obits to wonderful of our childhood and older superstars that have passed away. I still love our Sid episode. I really do love our Sid episode. It's like one of my favorites. We made him amazing. We really did. But for the first time ever, we're actually going to do a series. Now, our chums over at the NoSo, my PIC, they're doing a rebook of a year in wrestling history. Obviously, when you're doing a rebooking of a year, you pick the years that in history have kind of sucked butt. In fact, JR and the guy over there on the NoSo, they're doing 1995, which we've all rebooked 8,000 times in our head. 1995 WWF and maybe 1995 WCW, because that wasn't the best either. If anything, obviously, as we've all discussed, ECW was probably the best promotion in 1995. So we have decided, Dave and I have decided, but we're not going to do it in one show because we'd be here for forever. So we're going to break it in. We're going to do a year. Dave and I are going to do a year, and we're going to do it in 4 parts. We're going to do it in three show chunks. So, and we're going to do pay-per-view. Well, you know what? Dave's got it better in his head than I do. So, tell us, Dave, what we will be doing, and then I'll reveal what year we're doing. So, tell us what we're going to do.
So I think like you've started to share, we're essentially going to rebook the major shows for a particular year. So we're going to look at the cards and we're going to look at how they could have been better. Now, they could have been better because the matches were just terrible and better participants would have made for a better event. It could have been better because the concept and the storyline was good, but maybe the booking of the outcome of the match wasn't so good, and we might want to make some changes there. But that's basically the thing. We're going to be booking the each pay-per-view event for a particular year, going show by show, and just sort of trying to make the year better for in various ways.
Right.
So that's the concept. Now there are some basic rules that we've got in place. So the rules are that we are only allowed to use the roster that was available at the time. So if you were doing WWF in 1998 and 1999, you couldn't book Goldberg on the shows. We're not having these shock signings of people who weren't under contract at the time.
No, we're not going to do it like a video game. That's what I was saying. We're not doing video games. We're not changing rosters. We're not putting the Ultimate Warrior in. We're not changing time. No, we're not doing any of that. Nope. Not
so as sad as it is for some listeners, we're not going to see Christopher Daniels appearing on any of these shows because he's never appeared in WWF. So
right.
That's one rule. The second rule that we are going to follow is that we're taking the concept that if a wrestler gets a serious injury that puts them out for a period of time, we're going to accept that injury would have happened regardless. Their body was in the position that the injury would have happened regardless. So another example of that might be in 1999, Steve Austin succumbed to his neck injury and was out for a good 12 months again. So we are not going to be just going, oh, look, miraculously their body is 100% and they're healthy. No, their major injuries like that are still in place. And so we might have a storyline brewing that we've got to make change to because an injury happened in real life, just as a person would have been in that situation in reality. So again, we are doing that. And also if the WWF fires someone or releases someone in the time period, we've got to, we no longer have access to them either. So we're bound by the rules of who is available, but how we use them, what we do with the storylines, the matches, that's our call. That's where the changes come. We can change storylines, we can change matches, and we can try to make them better. And as I said before, we might find that there are some storylines and matches that we want to keep because they were good for the time period we're looking at. So that's our foundation. They're our rules.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, like Dave said, it's not the rosters we're changing, and it's what to do with the roster. So we're not gonna, again, like you said, we're not gonna do Goldberg in '98. We're not gonna do, Ric Flair in 1986 WWF. We're not doing that. We're not doing Hulk Hogan stayed in the AWA. No, we're not doing that. What we got to use what we're handed. That doesn't mean we have to accept what it used to be. That we're definitely not doing. So we are going to.
We're going to do that. The one thing that we have agreed that we can do is if a wrestler has signed, if we know a wrestler was under contract and perhaps the WWF held their debut off for a week or two, if we know that they're under contract, we have the ability to bring them in at an event a day or a week earlier than they might have appeared. So an example of that is Brock Lesnar's return at the Raw after WrestleMania. Brock was under contract. If we were doing that year, I can't remember what year we're talking. Is that
2012?
2012. Yeah. In 2012, Brock Lesnar's return. If we were to choose to, Brock was under contract at WrestleMania. We could choose to have Brock return as a surprise appearance at WrestleMania because we know he's signed and he appears the night after. So we do have that little bit of flexibility but it's only in that time period of they've just signed and they were going to be appearing the next day. They just weren't brought on at the pay-per-view.
Now, I have another. Now, I'm actually going to break the fourth wall because Dave, we didn't actually talk about this. What if a guy's under contract, but he's not? But in the Prime universe, he wasn't used or he was indisposed for something, not an injury. Say he was making a movie or something like that.
Well, I think
can we adjust that and decide to bring him in for something? Because technically he is under contract, but in the Prime universe, he was doing some press junket or something. Is it okay if we do that?
I think there is a little bit of flexibility allowed. Obviously, if Hulk Hogan was in the middle of filming a movie or John Cena was in the middle of filming a movie, they might not be able to make regular appearances because they've got to deal with that. Like we know at the moment, in 2025. Some of John Cena's, in that time period around WrestleMania and just before and just after, and also The Rock. I think The Rock is a good example in 2025. Everyone was hoping to see The Rock at WrestleMania this year. He didn't show, but we also are aware that he was apparently filming a movie, and John Cena was doing something similar. There was a period of time where Cena couldn't appear because he was filming.
Right.
But if they're if they're doing their media promotions and stuff, then obviously they can come in and they might be able to make a one shot here or there, but it wouldn't be able to necessarily be an ongoing storyline where they're there every single week because their commitments might not allow it. So I think there's some flexibility that we might be able to negotiate with the studio, some appearances here or there, but it wouldn't be a permanent that they're on every show every week sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure. So now we'll reveal because we've done a lot. We've built it up a lot. We want to get part one in tonight before this show is, WrestleMania 16 length. Not 16. WrestleMania 32. I'm doubling it. WrestleMania 32 length. So we're going to take definitely one of the most broken years in creative history in the WWE. A year that has probably been fantasy booked by fans for 2 decades. If you do the math, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yes. Dave and I are going to spend the next 4 episodes of Through the Looking Glass rebooking WWE 2003. One of the most broken, but very fixable creative years in wrestling history.
Yep.
So for those of you who think oh, Scott, you only wanted to do this because you want to make Triple H's run look better. Of course, I'm very selfish. Come on, this is my network. I do what I want. No, I'm just kidding. Well, sort of. Come on. I think one of the things we can do, Dave, is make Triple H just run better. That's easy to do.
That's easy. It's everything else on the roster that was with it.
Yeah. So we're gonna do just the big shows. We're not gonna book every Raw. We'd be doing this for 10 years. We're just gonna book the pay-per-views. We're not gonna book the builds we'll book the builds, but we're not gonna do so on this episode of Raw, these guys did this. And then on SmackDown, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that.
No, but we might reference we're building to a particular match at say WrestleMania, and we might say on Raw we would have maybe had this happen and that happen to help build the storyline to the match.
Yes. So, for instance, as we begin, so let's begin. So we all know the roster in 2003, okay? So you already know, we're already going to say it, that we're not going to use Goldberg in this episode. Maybe. Because Dave did say that if a guy was signed but didn't debut until a certain day, maybe we cheat on that. So maybe now I'm not saying we're doing it, but maybe Goldberg does show up in Seattle. Maybe. He was signed. Maybe. But not too much before. We're not going to be like, well, he probably signed in February. Let's have him at No Way Out. No, we're not doing that. We're not going to bend it that much. No. As Dave said, a day here, a day there. Not 2 months. No, we're not doing that. So let's begin. So on New Year's Day, we'll just go here, January 1st, 2003. Let's take a look at our champions at the moment. We can't change the champions. So at the moment, the WWE champion is Kurt Angle. He won it at Armageddon against the Big Show. The World Heavyweight Champion is, as I mentioned, Triple H. He beat Shawn Michaels in the 2 out of 3 falls, in the 3 stages of hell, actually, at Armageddon. The Intercontinental title is retired. Remember, it was one of the dumbest moves ever, and I'm glad in real life Steve Austin fixed that. Of course, the Intercontinental title was enveloped by the world title when Kane fought Triple H at No Mercy. Now, let me ask you a rule, Dave. Of course, Steve Austin brought back the Intercontinental title at Judgment Day. Can we bend that one a little bit?
I think we can have some flexibility of perhaps bringing it in earlier, but I don't think it's appropriate to bring it in at the Royal Rumble.
No, not at all.
They've only just retired it, but obviously if we know it's being brought back, I think there can be some flexibility in, maybe a few weeks, a month or so. I don't think we go, 4 pay-per-views earlier than it returns.
Okay. The WWE Tag Team Champions, I don't think they were called the World Tag Team titles. I guess they were. The World Tag Team Champions, when the year turned, was Book Dust, if I remember correctly. Booker T and Goldust. I believe they were the World Tag Team Champions.
Did they
win it at Armageddon? Now I want to double check.
I'm just double checking.
The WWE Tag Team Champions, I think, were Kurt Angle and nope, they lost them by then. Let's see.
Yeah, Book Dust was still Book Dust entered the year as the tag team champions. That's correct.
Okay.
And the on the other side of things, the champions heading in on the SmackDown side of things were Eddie and Chavo.
Okay, the Los Guerreros. They won it at Survivor Series. And the Cruiserweight champion was Billy Kidman.
Yep.
Who won the title also at Survivor Series. He beat Tajiri, I think. Yeah, I think he beat Tajiri. So there's your champions as we start the year. All right. Our first pay-per-view, of course, was January 24th.
No, it wasn't. It was January 19th.
Was it the 19th? Why do I keep thinking it was the 24th?
Don't know.
I always do that. My apologies. January 19th, 2003, at the Fleet Center in Boston, Massachusetts. And that was the 2003 Royal Rumble. I know the first thing everyone's going to say, the first thing you're all thinking, please do not do that Triple H Scott Steiner match. We're not. We're not. I have an idea. I don't know what your thoughts were, Dave, but I have an idea. I immediately already want to change two things.
Yep.
What do you think of this? I think Shawn Michaels deserves one more singles match. He never got his rematch. I think he ended up getting real life. I think he ended up not getting it until the end of 03 in that Raw match that ended in a draw or whatever the heck it was. I think what we need to do is we have Shawn Michaels and Triple H in a rematch for the World Heavyweight Championship. Something that wasn't in the 3 stages of hell, maybe last man standing. And I think you're going to think I'm nuts. I'd like to see Scott Steiner win the Royal Rumble.
Whoa. Okay.
I have no disrespect for Booker T, who we in real life did wrestle at WrestleMania, but he ended up losing anyway. And that pissed everybody off. I think the reason that the 2 Scott Steiner matches were so bad in real life is because Scott Steiner was hurt still when he came in at the 02 Rumble. He still had that drop foot thing or whatever the heck it was. And I think he had issues with his back or something.
Yeah, and he hadn't really been in the ring for over 18 months. He did a couple of appearances with the World Wrestling All-Stars, but that wasn't really anything to write home about. He really hadn't been competing for 18 months. So, carrying injuries. I certainly agree of getting him out of that, the title match at Royal Rumble. I don't think it was the right time. I don't think it was the right. I don't think they brought him in. He was over. I understand that, but you didn't need to put him straight into a world title match. I think they're on a hiding to nothing. You've got Triple H who wants to wrestle the old school heel style of match against Scott Steiner, who hadn't been a babyface in 5 years and hadn't really worked in 2, trying to put something together in his first real appearance. I just don't think it was ever the right thing. So I like the idea of the rematch between Triple H and Shawn. I think that works. I think it plays into the storylines that came out of the end of 2002. So I'm happy with that being the main event. That being the world title match at Royal Rumble.
Okay.
I think we can have some further conversations about Scott Steiner winning the Royal Rumble itself. Sure. I'm not sure I'm willing to go down that line.
Okay. I'm open to negotiation. Sure.
But no, I agree. I agree with that, and I guess therein lies. Well, let's get the rest of the card around it, and then we can talk about some outcomes. But I think, Triple H versus Shawn is a good world title match.
Okay. I think we would obviously keep, because the storyline was awesome, and of course the matches legendary. And that is, of course, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit and yes, in our universe, we're using Chris Benoit. Let's just pass that before anybody gets weird about that.
As hard and as difficult as it is to do it, it is something that we are going to. He was a part of the company at the time. He was involved, and look, the reality is that is one of the best matches. I think of definitely one of the best matches of Kurt Angle's career. It's a fantastic match, and yeah, we are going to keep it in. And Benoit will be around. Now, whether Benoit gets a sustained push, I guess we'll see what the bookers have in store for him.
Right, exactly.
Based on, but no, correct. Absolutely, Kurt Angle and Benoit keep their match.
Okay. So before we do you want to work on the undercard? You're not a Scott Steiner fan for the Rumble. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Where do we put him then? Let's get him since we already yanked him off that match. Where do you have him, or do you want to hold off?
I would have him in the Rumble. I definitely would have him in the Rumble, and I would probably have him coming out very, very late, if not number 30. Okay. I think that's the spot for Scott Steiner. I think giving him the 30 spot at the Rumble would be good. You're going to get the pop of him being the last guy out. You don't have to rely on him to do anything for too long. So his whatever body issues he has coming in, where his foot's at, where his back's at, you can work around that because you can keep it for a short period of time. He can have a quick impact, and then what happens with the outcome, I guess we'll talk about what ideas we might have around that in a moment. But I think Scott Steiner would be the perfect number 30 for a guy making his return to the company and really making his first big appearance.
Okay. All right. So you half agree with me that he's in the Rumble, but you wouldn't have him win it. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So let's look at the next match. So what are we doing with Brock Lesnar?
Well, I think, again, they were building a storyline they were building to Brock being the man. And I think from a SmackDown perspective, everyone was wanting to see that Brock Lesnar-Kurt Angle match at WrestleMania. They kept them apart since Brock debuted. And I think it was always the plan to have Brock and Kurt face at Mania. So I think we want to be keeping that trajectory. I think Brock needs to end up in the Rumble as well. Again, whether or not Brock is your winner, that's something we can talk about in a moment. But I think they do that. And, of course, they had a storyline building into it. Brock faced the Big Show with the winner getting an entry into the Rumble, and the other person is not in the Rumble.
Right.
So I think you can keep that match. I think you've got the whole storyline with Paul Heyman and the Big Show and Brock. That's already there. And I don't have a problem with keeping that match in there. You keep it short like they did. I think it works. I don't know if I'd have it open the night, but I think you can keep that match in as a storyline fundamental to what they had been doing with Brock and the whole Paul Heyman trying to keep Brock away from the belt.
Okay. So we will keep Brock Lesnar versus Big Show for the last Rumble spot. Okay. If I can type. Okay. All right. Next up, the Dudley Boys were feuding with the tag team champions on Raw, Lance Storm and William Regal. Eventually, Lance Storm would William Regal would get hurt or get sick, I think it was, and he'd be replaced by Chief Morley. They'd win the belts back a little bit later on. The Dudleys win here. What do you think of that?
Well, I think we need to take it back a step because, as we mentioned, coming into 2003, Goldust and Booker T were the champs. And you've taken the belt off this quite fun team, and they've got, there's nothing to shake for it. So I guess part of the reason they've done that is this was at a time where they weren't doubling guys up on the pre-show and the Rumble, apart from the Brock Lesnar situation. So I guess we need to ask the question, do we want Goldust and Booker T to lose the tag titles before Royal Rumble, or do we want them in the Rumble card as tag team champions? And then the second question that ties with that is, do we want Booker T in the Royal Rumble? Where are we going with Booker T? So I think those are two questions we need to be asking ourselves before we work out whether or not the match that we had, the Dudleys versus Storm and Regal, stays on the card.
Okay. All right. So, and does the title? So you keep Storm and Regal.
Well, I don't know. This is what I'm asking. Like, I guess the question is, what do we want to do with Booker T? Do we want Booker T in the right? Where are we going with Booker? And this will come back to who wins the Rumble.
Right.
So,
Because Booker doesn't in the Prime world, Booker doesn't get the title shot at Mania until the beginning of March.
Right. And here's where we come back to, I guess, our conversations around where things are going with the Rumble. So I don't think it matters when Scott Steiner makes his debut or whatever. I don't think a match between Scott Steiner and Hunter is ever going to be any good. I just don't think they match. And so the reason I wouldn't have Scott Steiner win the Royal Rumble is I don't want Scott Steiner in the main or in a world title match at WrestleMania. So I think that's where I'm like, I like him in the Rumble. You can make a big deal of it, but I'd have him eliminated, and he can wrestle someone else at WrestleMania after being eliminated. You can build a match, but I don't think he should be there. So then it comes back to, where are we building from? Do we want to just keep Brock as the winner and telegraph the Brock Kurt main event like what happened? Because that's a main event. That's a WrestleMania main event. I would probably keep that Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle match. But I also don't think you need the Royal Rumble to build to it. So you've got some flexibility there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It comes down to where you see the world title picture going at WrestleMania, and whether or not we want our Royal Rumble winner to be facing Triple H, or whether we're going to build that separately.
I think what we have to establish is, if Kurt Angle retains against Chris Benoit, and I'm going to assume that he will.
Yeah.
Are we building towards Kurt Brock for that belt anyway? And if we are, is it necessary for Brock to need to win the Rumble, or can we give SmackDown the number one contender storyline in February into early March? Do we flip-flop that and give the Raw guy the Royal Rumble win and give Brock a title shot via some other means?
I personally think that's the way to go. I think Brock and Kurt should still have their WrestleMania match.
I think so too.
But I believe that what you have undercurrent, Brock Lesnar being a former champion, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar's amateur background, I think you can create a number one contender storyline outside of the Royal Rumble for Brock. I don't think Brock needs to win the Rumble. I think what you need, because of where Raw was at and where Triple H was at as the dominant champion, you've had Shawn come in, win the belt, lose it back. We've got that last match, which will be you just know Triple H and Shawn will have a good match. You just know that.
Yeah, of course.
So that's going to help build Hunter's credibility. I think you really want, outside of Shawn, and the back end of 2002, there's no real clear-cut number one contender for the world title. And I think the Rumble is the best way to get your number one contender for Hunter's title. And then you've got a 2-month build that you can play around with to get there. Whether it be Booker, whether it be Rob Van Dam, whether it be Scott Steiner. Like I said, I wouldn't have Scott, but whoever it is, you've got the guy slotted in there as there's the challenger. Now let's make him worthy of being the challenger. And the Rumble helps build that credibility. So I think it needs to be, the winner needs to come from the Raw brand.
Okay. So that brings us to who is that? Now, we have to stick with injuries. So Kevin Nash, who we'll probably get more into in next month's episode, is still gone.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're not using Goldberg, even though I don't know when he actually signed. I don't know if he signed this early. Not that it matters.
Goldberg signed within a few days of WrestleMania. It was very late.
Yeah, so he's not around, so he doesn't count.
Kane has just finished his storyline with Hunter. That was the whole Katie Vick
that whole
storyline
mess. Oh God, what a disaster!
So Kane's out of the picture. I really think when you look at Raw, you have limited options, and the options in my mind really are Booker T or Rob Van Dam. I think they're the only two clear-cut options that would be available if we're saying it's not going to be Scott Steiner and it's not going to be Shawn Michaels. I think they're your only two clear-cut standout guys that are going to be a possibility. Rob Van Dam's always perennially over. He was the IC champ and they merged the titles, and you could do that as a bit of a rebuild that he never got his shot back or he never got that genuine opportunity again. And Booker T is Booker. He's never been at the top of the program since arriving in the company.
Correct. Well, I think looking ahead, if you want Rob Van Dam to win the Rumble, he should probably win the world title.
Yep.
I can't imagine the fans being thrilled that he would do it again. That they screw him over again.
Right.
I can't see it. But do we really want Booker? The question we have to ask ourselves is, and again, we talk about this as we get closer, or even if we get into next month. I feel like the path of the World Heavyweight Championship belt in 2003 is predicated on what we do with Goldberg. And I feel like that's what caused it in the Prime universe. Because who's to say, why do we need to debut Goldberg the night after WrestleMania? We could always wait it out. Again, we'll discuss it. We could get more into Goldberg in the next next episode.
Yep.
The reason I'm saying that is because if we're going to have RVD win the title at WrestleMania and he beats Triple H and the place goes nuts, the chance is good that we may hold Goldberg off.
Well, who's to say Goldberg is even on the Raw roster? He might go to SmackDown.
Oh, look at you thinking outside the box.
I think there are various options there with Goldberg down the track, but I think the reality is, whether it be RVD or Booker, you could put the title on either one of them, and you could have a 2 or 3 month reign. We see this happen all the time with WWE. They could have a 2 or 3 month reign, and if you want if we were wanting to do Goldberg Hunter for the title at another point, you can get the belt back onto Hunter. I mean, that happens every year. I mean, that's WWF booking until about 2010. So
pretty much.
I think and I agree. Goldberg. There are other things we can do with Goldberg as we're coming down the track. So I think we need to be looking more at what are we wanting to come out of Mania, and I think I like the idea of Rob Van Dam winning the Rumble and a build up to a big Mania. I think RVD and Hunter can have a good match, and you can also tie the backstory of the Elimination Chamber incident where Rob Van Dam came down on Hunter's throat. And you can play that into the storyline as well. That Hunter wants revenge on RVD as well. Like he's like you nearly ended my career, and I'm going to end yours. You could tie that in. So I like the idea of RVD facing Hunter at WrestleMania. I think it's different, and I think it would be a fun storyline, and it creates the element that you could do something else with Booker later in the year. The Booker doesn't have to be out of the title picture yet. You can do something else with him later.
Sure.
So I like the idea of giving the Royal Rumble win to RVD and letting RVD and Hunter main event or be one of the main events at WrestleMania. Not necessarily the last match, but one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we would want to move Brock and Kurt off the last match, but when we get to WrestleMania, we could talk about that. So, yeah. All right, so
that then brings us back to Booker T and Goldust. If Booker is not going to be going to WrestleMania, then I don't think we need to take the tag titles off them before we get to the Royal Rumble. I think you could have Booker T and Goldust come in as the tag team champions.
Okay, and would we have them against Regal and Storm?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't do anything with the Dudleys at the moment. We can put them in the Rumble, I guess, if you want.
They can go in the Rumble.
All right,
and I would have Booker and Goldust keep the belts for the moment.
Okay. The only other match that's on this card, and this is up to you, and that is, of course, the match between Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie.
We get that off. That sucks.
As much as that hotel scene where Dawn Marie says that Tori smells like strawberries is pretty damn hot. Having to look at Al Wilson in his saggy fucking tighty whities, I would like to take out of this alternate universe.
I would take that the entire storyline out. No, what I would do, and this is where I came back to, I wouldn't have Brock and Big Show on first. I think they were underutilizing the cruiserweight division here. I would have Kidman have a tag title defense as the kickoff match. Blast them out of the gate with a fast-paced action cruiserweight match to kick off the show.
Do we do a rematch with Tajiri?
Look, I think you could. It could be. I don't know that I'd have a rematch with Tajiri. I think this is where you could do things like, you could have him face Jamie Noble. You could have him face. I'm just having a quick look at some of the card. You could potentially have him face Eddie or Chavo. Like they don't need to. They don't necessarily need to be in the Rumble. Although Eddie is great in Rumble matches.
Eddie, you could probably put Eddie. If you're gonna have Chavo against Kidman, you might as well put Eddie in the Rumble. I mean, might as well make him work. Why don't we do that? I kind of like Chavo because I think that'd be a pretty good match. Yeah. All right, so Chavo Guerrero Cruiserweight Championship, and
your backstory could honestly be something as crazy as like this. This is a bit of fun. Stephanie McMahon is saying on SmackDown that they have an open contract that there's currently an open contract. They don't know who the challenger is going to be at Royal Rumble. She's saying this in the ring, and perhaps on SmackDown they do some form of cruiserweight three-way match, or get 4 people in the ring, but Eddie and Chavo are not in the match. So they're sort of like the winner of this match is going to get to sign the contract. And then what we see backstage is Eddie and Chavo sneaking into Stephanie's office, finding the contract and basically stealing the title shot. But it's who ends up signing the contract first. And you could have Eddie about to sign it and Chavo steals a pen out of his pocket and signs the contract. Like, just as a bit of fun under the storyline. Eddie and Chavo work their way in and Chavo steals the shot from under Eddie's nose, but they're both stealing the shot from the rest of the division. I just think that could be a fun little bit to create a backstory that, for a one-off match.
All right, that's fine. I'm good with that. All right, so our card at the moment is Triple H for Shawn Michaels in a last man standing for the World Heavyweight Championship. We're pretty much taking the 2004 Royal Rumble match, and because we can change that down the line. We're not doing 2004 anyway, so we don't care. Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, we're keeping that match because that match is one of the greatest of all time. Brock and Big Show for the final Rumble spot, even though it's not going to affect. We're having that match. We have the Rumble match itself, which we have Rob Van Dam winning. We have Book Dust against Regal and Storm for the World Tag Team Championship. And we have we start the show, we do a little Nitro type action, and we start with Billy Kidman versus Chavo Guerrero for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty damn good card.
It is. And the one thing I would do, because I think there's a match that I want to keep at WrestleMania, but by having Shawn in the title match, you lose their interactions in the Royal Rumble. And that's I want Michaels versus Jericho at WrestleMania. Well, so what I would have is I would have Jericho interfere in the title match.
Yep,
and
exactly.
He knocks Shawn out. Whether he even comes in and does the super kick, just to sort of play in that he's trying to take from Shawn, because that was part of the concept, was he was trying to do everything that he was Shawn. He was better than Shawn, so he could come in and he could super kick Shawn out, and that's the final knockdown for Hunter to. Shawn has super kicked Hunter down. Hunter's out. The referee's out. Jericho comes in. He super kicks Shawn. The referee gets up, counts everyone down, and Hunter drags himself up at the last moment to win the match. But Jericho is, and then the counter being in the Royal Rumble, Shawn comes out and costs Jericho his Royal Rumble match. I think you could have Jericho do the long run, starting at 1 like he wanted to do the long run like they did, and then Shawn comes out late in the Rumble and eliminates Jericho.
I was going to say that because I don't want to lose. I definitely don't want to lose Shawn and Jericho at WrestleMania. Absolutely not. No, you're absolutely right. I like that idea. Or like I said something dopey like, both guys are down and Shawn rolls like one of those, like those equipment boxes, the big metal ones with the wheels. He wheels it over and puts it over Shawn, and Shawn can't get up. Like something stupid. Yeah,
even something like that would be fun. But yeah, he comes out and he costs Shawn the match.
Right. And then we go on our way there. Yeah, I agree with that. So there's our Royal Rumble. So there's our first rebooked alternate universe 2003 pay-per-view. So once again, our Royal Rumble card from January 19th at the Fleet Center in Boston is Triple H and Shawn Michaels, last man standing for the World Heavyweight Championship. So in other words, we're pushing that matchup a year from 2004. Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit for the WWE title, that stays. Brock Lesnar versus Big Show for the last Rumble spot, that stays. Because the Brock, Kurt, Big Show stuff is still going on. We're not changing that storyline per se. We're just not having Brock win the Rumble. He'll get the title shot through other means that Dave and I'll get into. We'll have the Royal Rumble match with some new people in it. Scott Steiner will be in it. Eddie will be in it. Eddie was probably already in it, et cetera, et cetera. And, of course, we have Rob Van Dam winning the Royal Rumble. We have Dust. Oh, sorry.
And I was going to say, I think in your end there, like I said, if we're going to have Scott Steiner come out at 30, you've probably got Brock coming out in the high 20s. He's going to be out there late. I would have Jericho in there late because, like I said, I'd like him to do a long run. You've got RVD in there late. You might, Batista was in the Rumble, and I think you could play into some of the build. Like Batista has those links to, he's linked, he's part of Evolution, and whether Evolution have been officially named yet, he was linked to Hunter and Flair. So you could have Batista in late, and maybe Scott Steiner gets eliminated maybe he eliminates Batista out of the match, and Flair's at ringside with him. And when Scott Steiner turns around to celebrate, the two of them jump back up and pull him out of the ring. So Scott Steiner gets eliminated by people no longer involved in the match. You could do that. And I think, RVD probably does something spectacular too. Maybe eliminate Brock last. Maybe Brock is the last one out, but it's something absolutely spectacular that RVD comes off the ropes with some sort of flying kick that sends Brock sprawling backwards and out of the ring. You want it to be something impactful, and or Brock's going to press slam him out, and he slips out the back, bounces off the ropes, and hits a spinning, some form of spinning kick with a chair or whatever, and sends Brock, out over the top rope. But just something spectacular. So Brock is nearly got there, but didn't quite. And it adds credibility to RVD.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's fine. And Brock is a face, so he can look at RVD and go, all right, you got me. Book Dust, Regal, and Storm for the World Tag titles, and then Billy and Chavo for the Cruiserweight title. Now, before we move on to the next show, there's one name we have not mentioned yet. What do we do with Undertaker?
Yes.
Because he was out. He left. He left camera after a week or so after the. Was he wasn't at the Survivor? Was he at Survivor Series? No, and he wasn't in Armageddon. So he pretty much was gone. What was it? A couple of weeks after the match with Brock at No Mercy, the Hell in a Cell, which that match is just amazing.
Well, this is the famous Rumble. This is the Rumble where Taker was in and Maven kicked him out in that classic
that was 02.
moment.
No, that was 02.
Is that? You sure?
Yep, that was 02 in Atlanta.
I'm looking at 03. I'm looking at 03 now. Oh no. Sorry, Taker wasn't eliminated by him. Taker was eliminated at the end by Brock.
Yeah, he was the last guy. So, because Taker was a face at this point.
Right.
Taker was a heel in 02, and he got eliminated by Maven, and then he beat the fucking crap out of him.
That's right.
Threw him in a popcorn machine and absolutely destroyed him. So,
I think you've got Taker in the Rumble, and again, you're looking at, well, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? It could be an option, and I put it out there. If you want to look at a potential Mania match, an option could be maybe Scott Steiner eliminates Taker.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I just thought, funny you just said that.
And that could build to a potential. There's a role for Scott Steiner at WrestleMania. He might end up facing. So he's come in as a babyface. But you could, by Mania, you could turn him heel to have a match with the Undertaker.
Yeah, because since we're not going to have him anywhere near the world title, he doesn't have to stay a baby. He's a better heel anyway. I mean, he's an asshole.
Yes.
So he's a better heel anyway.
Like he's getting cheered, but over the course of what happens over the next few weeks on Raw, you could have him turn and maybe something happens in what we're to do No Way Out in a minute. Maybe something happens at No Way Out where there's Scott Steiner makes it clear that he's targeting Undertaker now and to build to WrestleMania. So
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I like that. No, that's a good idea. Okay. I was curious. We had mentioned his name.
No, we haven't.
All right. So we now move ahead to February 23rd. I think I got that date. That date I think I got right. February 23rd, 2003, from the Molson Center, or was it the Bell Center? I think it was the Bell Center at that point. Let me see. Yeah, it was the Bell Center. From the Bell Center in Montreal, and that is No Way Out. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm putting in two matches that are not changing. Well, yeah, I guess they're not changing. We are not. Two things we're keeping. We're keeping Steve Austin's return and him beating the crap out of Eric Bischoff. That's staying.
Yep. I can handle that.
And we're keeping Rock versus Hogan.
Okay. Can I ask you why? Why Rock Hogan? Why do we need that match?
Because I think two things. Number one, we need to have Rock as a heel because we're keeping Rock and Austin at WrestleMania.
Yep. I'm all cool with that.
And I hope we're not going to argue. I hope we're not going to debate this because I really love that match. We still need to begin the build to Hogan and Vince. Yep. Unless you have another avenue. Well, now, if you have another avenue to Hogan and Vince, I'm all ears.
I don't think Hogan Vince needs the Rock match.
Okay.
I'm not saying we can't keep it. I just want to throw out another potential idea for the Rock for No Way Out.
Okay, sure.
Only because I love this storyline so much.
I know exactly what you're going to do.
And that is, do we rework a particular storyline so that the Rock Hurricane blow-off match is at No Way Out? Because I absolutely think that is one of the greatest short-term storylines the company has ever done. I think that it is great. It is a great Rock put Hurricane over so well, and it's a fun thing. Rock doesn't need to face Hogan and beat Hogan to be ready for Austin. You could have Austin and Bischoff earlier in the show. That doesn't need to be in the main event slot. You could have it halfway through, and then you could have Austin come back out and cost Rock exactly the way he does on Raw. I just think what they did on Raw, you could do at the pay-per-view. Now, I'm not saying you have to. I just love that idea. I think it works well. And I think there's another element where you could perhaps bring Hogan in that could play in with, Hogan you can deal with, and I don't look, there's Hogan and Vince don't need to be that Hogan doesn't need to face the Rock at No Way Out, in my opinion, to still build to Hogan Vince. You could have an interview segment. You could have, you could run some form of interview segment where Hogan's out there and Vince gets in his face. You could have another match for Hogan. You could have him in a tag team match. Because Hogan doesn't win the match, I don't see the real benefit of it. Because Rock beat him at Mania the year before. To me, I'm not saying it's not a bad match. I just don't think you need it. That's all.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I really want to keep Hogan Vince at Mania because I love that match. I'm a sick fan for that match.
and I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that.
Okay. All right. So let's go. Let's look at the Prime card and take a look. So Jericho and Jeff Hardy. I do not put on this show because the match is terrible and Jeff Hardy is a disaster at this point.
Yeah.
I don't even want to use him, to be honest.
No.
He is an absolute shit show at this point. So, what would you like to do with Jericho? Well, we obviously don't want to do Jericho. Sean, do we do a highlight reel?
Well, let me throw out. I'll throw out a couple of ideas here because I was trying to work out what to do with Hogan. Okay. And I'm looking at the rest of the card and I'm looking at things that we've already changed and we've already dealt with and where we're going. Is it an option to consider if you want Hogan on the card? Is it an option to consider Hogan facing Hunter for the title? And you can deal because where I guess where I'm sitting at is we've got to work out what we're going to do with Hunter, RVD, and we've said we want Hogan going to face Vince at WrestleMania. And we've also got Jericho and Shawn. So there's all sorts of things in there. And we also know that Kurt Angle was struggling with his neck, and you can't have him in a singles one-on-one match at this event. He needs to be in a tag team match to protect him. So you probably still need to have Hunter in a title match, but we don't want Scott Steiner and we don't want RVD in there. Do we potentially run back and have a rematch between Hunter and Hogan? I mean, Hunter is arrogant enough that he would want, he lost the title to Hogan. They never faced again. Does Hunter want the rematch? And you could have Vince screw Hogan completely to build to your world heavyweight title match, to build to your WrestleMania match.
I like that idea. You have so one night out of the blue, Triple H shows up on SmackDown.
Right. I don't think Hogan needs to be on. Hogan can make his return on Raw.
So you have him going the other direction. Okay.
Yeah, Hogan's been off TV since he got beaten up by Brock Lesnar the year before.
Right.
So why not? You could do it as a ratings thing, and that could be it. Hogan comes out to a big fanfare, blah blah blah, blah, and then Hunter comes out. What the hell are you doing on my show? This is my show. This is my title, and Hogan could bait him into it. Well, last time I saw you, we were in the ring together, and I was beating you for that title. And that could be the thing, and then. What you see later is that Triple H is, maybe having secret negotiations with Vince behind the scenes to sort of, it's all a manipulation that Vince is orchestrating.
Right. Yeah. Hogan could say, why don't you go back to SmackDown? I'm sure you want a piece of Brock. It's because of him you were gone. I mean, why are you here? I don't wrestle old guys anymore. I already wrestled you once.
There it all is. Yes.
Yeah. And Hogan can go, yeah, you did wrestle me once. And you lost to this. If Hogan doesn't mind being a little self-deprecating, but, because it's Hogan. Yeah. But in our universe, he's a nicer guy. And he could say, and the last time, yeah, I remember that match. And you lost to this old man.
Hunter could use the words like "you're an old man," or whatever, and then it's sort of like Hogan is quoting him back. That old thing. You're an old, decrepit has-been, and Hogan could say, "But the last time you lost to this old, decrepit has-been." So whatever words Hunter uses to degrade Hogan, exactly. Hogan is just using that as the mock back. Yep. If I'm that, you lost to me.
Yep, I like that idea. And come on, I'm just an old man. What do you got to lose? If you are the game, I'll throw he could do some 80s reference, like I'll throw a quarter in the slot or something,
yeah.
Brother, some kind of 80s reference. And
absolutely.
I like that idea. Actually, I love that idea. Will the match be great? No. Does it have to be great? No. It's a storyline vessel. It's fine.
But that's the thing. You've got Vince playing into it, and Vince can be sitting at ringside, and look, you can play into a couple of things here. You can play into the fact that it's well known that Hunter is dating. Like, you don't say it. We know they didn't say it openly then, but you could talk about. Hogan could talk about. We all know you're Vince's boy. That Vince sees you like a son. Hogan could talk about that. So that brings in the idea that Vince could be sitting at ringside and the commentators are playing up on that. And you could still do the crooked referee angle. Was it Sylvain Grenier?
It was Sylvain Grenier, yep.
Yeah, you can still do the crooked referee angle that the referee costs, Hogan the match. You can still do that storyline element to build to that, but you want to keep it short, and it really is. This is just a fight. You don't want them going long again. You don't want them, because even the Hunter Hulk Hogan match the previous year wasn't good. That wasn't a good match. So you want to keep this short, and I'm looking at it from a storyline perspective more than an in-ring classic.
Right, exactly. It's a vessel to move the storyline, so we're fine with that. All right. So we've covered that. Jericho. What do you want to do with Jericho?
Should Jericho face Rob Van Dam?
Oh, you sneaky little minx, you. So
You
Hogan. So Jericho says, he baits RVD into putting his title shot up.
Absolutely, yes.
And Shawn returns the favor.
Yep, absolutely.
Love it. Boy, that match will be so good. Chris Jericho versus Rob Van Dam for RVD's Rumble shot. Okay, good. Got them covered. That match is going to be amazing.
Now, I am going to note here, we want to be careful with the booking for the rest of the card in terms of outcomes, because we've essentially just had screw jobs in 3 key matches there. We've got Jericho being screwed by Shawn, Hogan being screwed by Vince, and Rock being screwed by Stone Cold in that little... I know he didn't really get involved, but the music goes and he comes out and Hurricane gets the roll-up. Like, I love that little element. So you've got... So I think we've got to make sure we have some very, very clean finishes in some of our other matches.
Well, I think we keep Matt Hardy winning the Cruiserweight title from Billy Kidman. We'll keep that.
Yeah, that's a good match, and I think Matt made a good champ.
He made a great champ. I just watched it. He was absolutely hilarious. He was amazing.
Yeah. And I think you need to keep, as I said before, Kurt needs to be in a tag match because of his neck. So I think that 6-man concept they originally wanted, we need that 6-man match. It's just that they never end up replacing the one Edge who got ruled out. So I think you've still got Kurt, Charlie Haas, and Shelton Benjamin, and they can be facing Brock. They can be facing
Benoit,
and then you just need the third member of the team. And if Edge is out, you need a third member. Ray, absolutely. There it is. Brilliant. Ray can be there.
I don't know why he wasn't on this original card in the first place. So it'll be Team Angle versus Brock, Benoit,
and Ray
Mysterio. Yes.
And Lesnar gets the win. Lesnar gets a clean win over Kurt.
Oh, okay.
No, because we need our storyline. We need Brock getting. I think Brock gets a clean win over Kurt, allows them to then. He can then. You've got that number one contender idea. I just beat you. I beat you in a match. Give me a title shot. And Kurt is proud enough. Like everyone, like Team Angle could be saying, "Don't do it, Kurt. Don't sign the match." And Kurt, in Kurt ego fashion, no, I'm the best, and I'm going to prove it. I'm going to beat him at WrestleMania. So this is your setup for your WrestleMania, because we need Brock being the number one contender somehow. Beating Kurt, I think, gets him that shot.
Okay, good. All right, that gives us 6 matches. There were 8 on the card. Does Book Dust?
I think they need to lose the. We need to have them in. We need to have a tag title match, because that's key. And I guess that's or do we want? Doesn't have to be Book Dust. Do we want to get the Guerreros on the show? Do we want them defending their tag titles? Because we haven't seen the SmackDown tag titles yet.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's take a look at the hot teams on SmackDown at the time. Team Angle actually were the champs. Team Angle were the champs because they won it in early February.
And that could still be sitting, because you could be building back to the rematch at at WrestleMania. You could
Right.
have that match. That could still have occurred. I don't have a problem with that. But again, yeah, and probably Team Angle probably did need to win the titles. I would say, to help build the storyline for the main event that you want. They're all champions. That was part of the key. And Benoit and Ray could have been having some matches with them as well. So yeah, you sort of can play that idea. So I think I agree with that, but I'd still love the idea of the Guerreros being on this pay-per-view. And look, they could face some of the things you had on SmackDown. You had the FBI were here. This is when Chuck Palumbo and Johnny the Bull were tagging up as with Nunzio in their corner. You could have that. You could do a combination of other cruiserweights. You could bring them in there. There are various options available to you.
How about Los Guerreros versus Tajiri and Rhino?
Rhino could be one. I was going to say, yeah, it could be Rhino. You could have it as you could have Nunzio in there. You could go for the full cruiserweight standard.
All right. I like that idea, actually. Tajiri and Nunzio against Los Guerreros.
Tajiri and Nunzio with the rest of the FBI at ringside, with Johnny the Bull and Chuck Palumbo at ringside, and the Guerreros. This is where you can have some cheat to win fun that doesn't involve a run in, and the Guerrero, they could do all sorts of shenanigans, and they could steal a weapon from Johnny the Bull and Chuck Palumbo and hit Nunzio with it and win the match.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Los Guerreros against Tajiri and Nunzio.
So let's have a look there. We've got Austin and Bischoff is a Raw match.
Yep.
Rock and Hurricane is essentially a Raw match. Triple H and Hogan is a Raw match. Jericho Van Dam. So we probably need, and then we've got sort of 3 SmackDown matches. So do we want it now? This is where we come back to what we talked about before. We need to do something with Undertaker and Scott Steiner, not necessarily in the match together, but to build to their match at Mania. We probably need Undertaker on the show.
And we also need Kane. Because he was the original, he was in the tag match with RVD against Regal and Storm. We don't want a screw job. So I was going to have maybe Kane borrows his brother. He crosses over to face, but then Steiner's. Nah, I couldn't do that. No.
Maybe Steiner beats the crap out of Kane as a message to the Undertaker.
Okay. So Kane versus Scott Steiner. That's a good idea.
And we could add an extra match on the card. We could have Undertaker in another match as well, so he's also on the card. You could have Undertaker could beat someone like Rhino. This is where you could bring Rhino in. Maybe Undertaker beats Rhino on the card and earlier in the show, and then Scott Steiner just beats the absolute tar out of Kane. Is attacking him post match. The gongs come out. Undertaker comes out to save his brother, and Scott Steiner does a runner.
Okay. That gives us 9 matches.
Yeah.
Which is the same amount of matches that the original one was, except one of them was a dark match. So our No Way Out card is Austin versus Bischoff. Steve Austin makes his big return.
Just as happened, Austin just beats the tar out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the moment. Yeah,
and we do that maybe second match of the show or third match of the show. I think we open with Kidman and Matt Hardy. I think that'll be good.
Yeah.
Then The Rock and the Hurricane, and at some point in the show, Steve Austin screws The Rock. Triple H and Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship. Triple H wins because Vince fucks with Hogan. Chris Jericho against Rob Van Dam for RVD's Rumble shot and
WrestleMania shot
for the WrestleMania shot. Well, his Rumble shot, meaning the shot that he won at the Rumble. That's what I meant.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, Shawn Michaels will give Jericho some sweet chin music. Billy Kidman, Matt Hardy for the Cruiserweight title. We still have the same tag match, but instead of not replacing Edge and making it a handicap, we put in Rey Mysterio, which I think ends up making the match like really, really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kurt protects his neck, and Haas and Benjamin do all the heavy lifting. Los Guerreros against Tajiri and Nunzio. Kane versus Scott Steiner, and he beats the crap out of him, injures him maybe or something. Cinder block to the some type of WCW shenanigans. Yeah. And Undertaker against Rhino, and that kind of precipitates into the Scott Steiner stuff as well. All right, that's a fun little No Way Out card. I think we definitely made that card better than the original one. That's for sure.
Yeah, and look, like we said, there's a couple of matches on there that aren't necessarily going to be great in ring. Triple H Hogan's not going to be great in ring, but I think the storyline around it will help save it, and you keep it short. And I think Scott Steiner and Kane gets kept short, which is why you can have 9 matches on pay-per-view, because you don't want Scott Steiner out there very long. You need to keep his match tight. So there are 2 shorter matches, plus Austin Bischoff isn't really much of a match either. So you're allowing the good workers are going to be carrying the card in ring. And I actually think Rhino and Undertaker will have a good match, because Rhino at that time was a good worker.
Yeah, he definitely was. Absolutely. I'm looking at the original on Wikipedia, and the Triple H Steiner match was 1301. Triple H and Hogan will definitely not be 1301. It'll be more like 701.
Yeah. And Scott Steiner and Kane is probably going to be 5 minutes at the most, and probably the last 1.5 of those is just going to be Scott, beating him down to get the win and making it. And then, like we said, then you've got a post-match beat down.
Right. All right. There we go. There is our
No Way Out.
No Way Out card. Yes, thank you. All right.
And that's given us I think we've now outlaid a few matches for WrestleMania, which is going to make WrestleMania very easy to put together.
Yes. So now we move ahead to March 30th at Safeco Field in Seattle for WrestleMania 19. Now, the matches we've kept from real life, we'll get those out of the way right now from the Prime Universe. So Shawn Michaels is still facing Chris Jericho, because we'd be stupid to get rid of that. Hulk Hogan will still face Vince in a street fight. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. I was just going to say, I reviewed that match. I did a live watch of that match for Place to Be, a couple of months ago, and that match holds up. That was a great match. So yes.
And then Vince in the street fight.
We've still got Brock and Kurt.
Yep. Getting back to Hogan Vince for a minute.
Yep.
Do we still do the hot rod run-in?
Oh, I don't think it needs it. It never went anywhere. I don't think it needs it. I don't know that I wouldn't have Hot Rod. Not in the match. You could have Hot Rod at Mania. You could have a Piper's Pit, but I don't know that you need him in that match. I never liked that part to the match.
I agree. So out of Kurt beating Brock, we'll just book this now.
No, Brock beat Kurt.
Brock beating Kurt. I'm sorry. Brock pinning Kurt at No Way Out. That following SmackDown, Brock comes out and says, I pinned Kurt Angle last Sunday at No Way Out. I want the title shot at WrestleMania 19 for the WWE Championship. I've earned it. I haven't gotten my shot back yet.
Yeah, and
losing at Survivor Series.
Yeah, and Kurt can I'm going to give you an answer later. I don't have to answer you now. And then for the rest of the show, or even for a week, you could have, or you could even do it you could do it over a couple of weeks. So Kurt says, "I'm not going to give you the answer now," and then Team Angle, Shelton and Charlie Haas are saying, "Don't do it. You don't need to do it. You're the best. You don't have to prove anything to anyone." And Kurt's sort of but I am the best, and I've got, I know I'm the best, so why wouldn't I face him? And then maybe the next week Brock beats the tar out of Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin in a match. Like maybe he takes them down, and that's sort of I've beaten your boys, and Kurt finally agrees to, yes, I'll take you on.
Yep. And then, we have some events to build. Team Angle could mess with Brock, and we have things going on.
Yeah, Team Angle come out and attack him the next week, and they try to injure him, and
right, exactly.
Yeah, all those sorts of shenanigans can go ahead.
Yep, and that leads, of course, to their match at WrestleMania. So that still happens. So we still have Shawn and Jericho. We still have Hogan and Vince. We still have Kurt and Brock. We still have
Rock and Stone Cold.
We still have The Rock and Stone Cold, which that match just gets me in the feels. That match still gets me in the feels. Now that we know what Rock and Steve talked to each other about when they were chatting, that match gives me the feels. And I remember even that night I was at my buddy Mike's house, our crew, and I remember even saying to Dr. G, who was sitting next to me, who of course is the biggest Stone Cold fan I know, and I said to him, I think this is it. This is very weird. It's almost like a retirement match without talking. And he didn't totally believe it. And then, of course, the next night on Raw, we all know what happened. Anyway, so 4 matches are locked in. Now, I feel like we've already booked a decent hunk of the rest of this, which is good because we've got some good stuff. So, all right. So
we need our other match is Triple H versus Rob Van Dam for the world title.
Yep. What do we end the show with?
I would still end with Kurt and Brock.
Okay. Yeah, I would too. I as much as I love RVD, I feel like that just wouldn't have the gravitas. It's a big moment. The place will be pumped, but
Kurt and Brock are going to blow everyone away in ring. I mean, they had an outstanding match, and Kurt was injured, so. Right. I think they still had a near 5-star match and blew the place away, and Brock is getting crowned as the man. So
okay,
I'd absolutely do that. The other match we've been building to Undertaker versus Scott Steiner.
Do we keep? I think we should because there's no reason not to. Do we keep Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title?
I think so. I think we want a cruiserweight match. We've had Ray in a prominent position last show. I think that goes well, and that was a good match.
Yeah, and it was a good match, and that match was short, but it was good. All right, then we have Undertaker versus Scott Steiner, which I think will end up being entertainingly decent. I think Taker seems like one guy Steiner would kind of trust and not act like an asshole. So that match may end up being moderately decent. Do you get you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Taker will make that match okay.
Yes, I think Taker will work around. He'll work around Scott's limitations. This was a time when Taker was starting to come into his own. And look, for heaven's sake, I know Scott Steiner might not be as great in ring, but I think the character elements he brings to the match as a heel are going to be better than the Big Show and Albert in that handicap match. That match was the drizzling shits.
Yeah, it really was.
It's something that you can allow Scott Steiner's character and personality as a heel carry some of the build. And in the match, he can be doing things like he can do his push-ups. He can press slam Undertaker above his head. Yeah, you can let Steiner use his strength to be impressive, and Undertaker can work around him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Do we keep the triple threat tag of Shelton Charlie, Rhino Benoit, and Eddie Chavo? Do we keep that?
Well, I think we should have we should have at least Team Angle versus the Guerreros. I think you can have that as like a rematch on pay-per-view. You've got the big rematch. I think they would tear the house down. Look, this comes into my struggle with using Benoit. Benoit, they brought something to the match, but I think you could tear the house down with just Team Angle and the Guerreros. I don't think you need to make it a three-way. And I think you have the potential that we might need a multi-man match, because the other tag titles aren't, whether they're on pre-show or whether they're on the main show, I think the other tag titles are going to need a multi-way match. So let's not overdo the multi-ways, and I think you have Team Angle versus the Guerreros in a regular tag match, and then we've got our Raw tag match, which can be a multi-way.
Okay.
Because we're going to want to put Booker T and Goldust on the card, on the Raw shots, and that's where you could probably put the Dudley Boys in to help carry that match as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the titles. You've got Regal and Lance Storm. You've got the Dudleys, and you've got Book Dust.
Okay, so we have that match. So we'll do. So who do we have? Who are the world? Is it Regal? Is it still Book Dust? Have we had them lose yet?
Let's go back. What did we do? I'm just trying to look at No Way Out again.
We didn't have a world tag title match, so
we can assume that maybe the storyline of the whole Chief Morley thing, Chief Morley, William Regal, they've probably stolen the belts on Raw at this point, and they've probably coming into so Regal and Morley come into WrestleMania as the champions. They had to sub William Regal out because of some issues he was having.
Yeah, some virus or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that the planned match would have been Morley and Regal versus Book Dust versus the Dudleys. Sort of like that three-way. They've been having a bit of a three-way feud. You could have that as this is the climax of that. But yeah, I'd say that the belts got stolen at some point.
Okay. So Regal and Storm versus Book Dust versus Dudley's World Tag. Because honestly, I know everyone's going to think that we demoted Booker, but I don't think. I feel like Booker will be meant for something better down the line that can replace future poor Triple H matches, if that makes any sense. Because we still have bad Triple H opponents to fix in future episodes. So, all right. Is there anybody on this card we haven't done anything with yet? No, we don't need Big Show on it. Nobody cares. I think we got a card.
Sorry, yeah, just getting back to Booker T and Gold. Sorry, I realized I was on mute. Getting back to Booker T and Goldust, you could do the storyline here that when they lost the titles on Raw, Goldust is the one that gets pinned. And perhaps here at Mania, Goldust is the one who gets pinned again. And so this storyline that I know they did something similar, but this idea starts to develop that Goldust sees himself as the weak link. and he encourages Booker to go and do other things, which I know they basically did that storyline, but you could play it a bit longer and a bit more mainstream here, a bit more highlighted to continue to build it. And Booker can be fighting it. No, like even this match, no, we're going to take another shot. We're going to go for the gold again. And Goldust is like, I don't want to let you down, Booker. You'll never let me down. And then they lose again. And so as we move forward out of Mania, we can play that Goldust is supporting Booker to do other things. And it gets pushed so that this storyline that we've got underlying the whole Bookdust story is about Booker is ready to move on, and it's his friendship with Goldust that has been holding him back from looking at what else he can do.
Right. Okay. I'm okay with that. Sure. Because, I mean, obviously down the line when he switches shows and ends up turning heel anyway, we could just kind of, change it up a little bit. Yeah, I'm good with that. Sure.
Now, I'm going to raise one thing that we haven't got. We haven't even talked about this division in any card to date. And that's the women's division.
Yeah,
that's the women's division, because we have you've got Trish Stratus in the company at probably the time that she was hitting her peak. Do we want a women's match at WrestleMania? Now, I'm not saying we keep the one that they had. I'm just saying, do we want a women's match at WrestleMania? And if so, what would it be?
Well, the original one, Victoria was champion. She'd been champion since Survivor Series. Trish wins it in a 3-way with Jazz. And then Jazz ends up winning it. I think Trish, in real life, in the Prime universe, Trish only held it a month, and then Jazz beat her at Backlash. And then Jazz held it until June. She got hurt, and they gave it to the debuting Gail Kim. So,
yeah, and look, you've got. I guess there's the question: do we want? I mean, it was a 3-way here. Do we want that 3-way? I was never a big fan of this 3-way match. I don't think it's a great match. I don't think they built it up very well. I do think Trish is the person you can have on WrestleMania. She's got the star power, and she'd come a long way. I don't know that Victoria needs to come into Mania as the champion. So do we want a singles match between Trish and Jazz? Would that work? Does Jazz not really cut it? And do we need someone else in there to make it a more tolerable or a better match?
Well, I think Trish and Victoria have amazing chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So
do we keep that Trish and Victoria for the title, for the women's title, and Trish walks away with the belt?
Yeah, so we just do that then. Now, Do we give them a gimmick because it was a hardcore match at Survivor Series? Or do we just have Victoria and Trish in a regular match?
I don't think. I'm looking at our card. So we've got Hogan, and we've really only got the one. Was Rock and Austin was it no DQ match, wasn't it?
No.
No?
No, it was just a regular match. I'm looking at the card now on Wiki. It was just a regular match.
You could do a gimmick match. It's just what do we do? Because we've done a last man standing match already. We did that in January, so I don't know that we want a last man standing. Do you do a 2 out of 3 falls?
I love that. Yeah, we don't need to do a 3 stages. I mean, they already wrestled in a hardcore, setting. So,
you could do a 2 out of 3 falls. You could even have Trish go over in 2 falls. It doesn't have to be a 3-fall match, but you could have 2 out of 3 falls just as some sort of final statement on it all.
I like that. I mean, it's happened before. Steve Austin won a TV title match or something, 2 straight falls or something like that. So, yeah, I like that. That gives us 11 matches. Is that what we got? Pretty good.
And I think that would be. I wouldn't have any more. That needs to be the card.
Yeah, because I mean, we haven't gotten to the mega long shows yet. We usually, this card could be 3.5 hours, and I think be fine. It probably was in real life anyway. Maybe it was like 350.
Yeah. So, do we want to put this? Do we want to finish off by putting this in order? Like, do we want to have the run sheet for Mania as just so that we've because it's the big card?
Yeah. I would open.
I think you're either opening with the Cruiserweight match or the Angle Guerrero's tag title match. I think that's where you've got to open. I like the idea of opening with Angle and Guerrero's.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine either way. Okay.
I think you probably put that on. You probably put the Cruiserweight match on second.
Okay.
And
I know it's looking frenetic on the sheet, but
yeah. Let's work backwards as well. So our main event is Kurt and Brock. That's our main event.
Right. So that's how many matches? So
that's match 11.
That's match 11.
So do we want the semi-main to be Hogan Vince, or do we want the other title match as the semi-main?
Well, now that we're having RVD win rather than in the Prime Directive Booker lose, I think this match needs to have a little more focus. Yep. I don't know if I put it back to back with Brock and Kurt.
So maybe that goes on at 9th, and you have a match, and you could have the Hogan Vince. No, because you got Austin and Rock. You need Austin and Rock between them.
Yeah, so
Austin
that'll be
10.
10.
Rock splits them. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Hogan.
How about Shawn and Jericho at how about we do the World Tag Team title at 3, booked Regal and Storm, and we put Shawn, Jericho at 4.
Yep.
Taker Kurt at 5.
Taker Scott Steiner.
Taker Steiner at 5. Hogan Vince at 6. And Victoria Trish at 7.
As a come down from the Hogan Vince match.
Right. And then you go right into. Wait, did I do that right? Did I do the right number? Hold on. Wait, did I miss a match? Oh wait. Hold on. 1, 2. Well, we don't have an 8. Wait, did I do something wrong? Wait, hold on. I knew I was going to do this wrong. Wait, did I miss a match? Oh, no, we have 10 matches. Why did I say 11?
I don't know.
All right.
We got 10 matches.
We got 10 matches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I do a number twice? Hold on. I don't know. How come we don't have a...
No, 8. So Triple H RVD is 8.
Yeah, RVD. That's right. Okay. Sorry.
So it's 8, 9, 10. Yeah. We've only got 10 matches, not 11.
We only got 10 matches. I don't know why I thought we had I did that wrong. My bad. All right. So there we go. All right. So 10 matches, which I think is what Mania was, right? That's exactly what it was. If you count the heat match. So our card will be Team Angle versus the Guerreros. Oh, sorry.
And okay. So let's book some outcomes as we go. So Team Angle and Guerrero start our show. Are we going to keep the belts on Team Angle, or do we put the belts on the Guerreros?
I think we keep it on. I think we keep it on. I'd like to keep it on.
Knowing that Kurt is going to be going away with an injury, do we want the belt still on Team Angle for the moment?
I think so.
Okay, so Team Angle will retain the title against the Guerreros.
Then Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title. In the Prime Universe, Matt retained. Rey didn't beat him until June.
I think we can put Rey over here. I like the idea of Rey as Cruiserweight champion moving forward in our universe. I think we can have some fun with it.
Yep, we can, and he'll come out still dressed as Daredevil. We have Regal and Storm versus Book Dust versus the Dudleys for the World Tag Team titles.
I think we've got Regal and Storm getting the win over Goldust, getting the pin. Goldust has to eat the pin, unless we want the Dudleys to come out. And I don't mind the idea of the Dudleys winning the titles. But we do have a lot of title changes later on. So I'm thinking we might need to not. We've already changed the cruiserweight, and both world heavyweight titles are going to be switching. So maybe we keep the belts on Regal and Storm for the moment, and they beat Dustin, and the Dudleys have the ability to say we didn't lose, and they could always have a future match.
I mean, I'm good either way.
Because we're also changing the women's title. So I think we need to have Regal and Storm get the win.
Yeah.
Using shenanigans.
Okay. So they keep it. Do we keep Booker a face?
Yep. At the moment we can. Because like I said, I think it's around this idea that Goldust feels that he's been letting the team down.
Right. He's inadequate. Yep.
Yeah.
Then Sean Jericho. Sean wins. Obviously, that doesn't change. Taker, Scott Steiner. Taker keeps the streak going.
Yep.
Let's see. Then Hogan Vince street fight. Hogan wins. Victoria versus Trish for the women's title. Trish
gets the belt.
Trish gets the belt. Then Triple H RVD. Ric Flair tries to shenanigan it up. RVD stops him, maybe hits a Van Terminator on him or something, and then RVD hits the frog splash and wins the world title, and the place goes absolutely nuts.
Yep.
Then kind of crazy we have Rock and Stone Cold as a cool down, but at this point in the card, everybody's amped up anyway. So
yeah.
So
I think we keep the result the way it was. I think Rock wins.
Rock
match
wins because I think we'll figure out in our August episode about Goldberg, because obviously we all know what Rock does after this. So and then we finish with Brock Lesnar winning the world title against Kurt Angle. I like this show, and I already liked WrestleMania 19 in real life.
So, it was the one good thing in the year.
Yeah,
it was.
It
was a pretty good event.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So there we go. So let's do one final go through. I'll read it out while Dave is doing some additions. So the Royal Rumble in Boston. Triple H for Shawn Michaels, last man standing for the World Heavyweight title. Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit for the WWE title. Brock Lesnar versus Big Show for the last Rumble spot. The Royal Rumble match, which Rob Van Dam wins. Book Dust versus Regal and Storm for the World Tag Team titles. And Billy Kidman versus Chavo Guerrero for the Cruiserweight Championship. We move ahead to February 23rd. No Way Out in Montreal. The Rock against Hurricane. Steve Austin against Eric Bischoff still happens. Triple H versus Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight Championship. Chris Jericho versus Rob Van Dam for the title shot that RVD won at the Rumble. Shawn interferes because of the turnabout is fair play from the Rumble. Billy Kidman and Matt Hardy for the Cruiserweight title stays. Matt wins. Team Angle versus Brock Lesnar, Chris Benoit. And instead of it being a handicap match, we bring in Rey Mysterio. Los Guerreros against Tajiri and Nunzio. Kane against Scott Steiner. And Undertaker versus Rhino. And then WrestleMania 19, Team Angle versus Guerreros for the WWE Tag Team titles. Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title. Regal and Storm versus Book Dust versus the Dudley Boys in a World Tag Team title triple threat. Shawn Michaels against Chris Jericho still happens. Undertaker versus Scott Steiner. Hulk Hogan versus Vince McMahon in the street fight still happens. Victoria and Trish Stratus, no jazz for the women's title. 2 out of 3 falls. Trish wins. Triple H versus Rob Van Dam for the World Heavyweight title. Rob Van Dam finally gets the brass ring. Steve Austin versus The Rock in Steve Austin's final match, and Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE title, and Brock wins like he did in the real life, in the Prime universe. So there we go. 3 down, 9 to go. And Dave, I think we've got a good start so far. I actually think we do.
I do. I think it's been fun. I mean, like we haven't changed. We haven't changed too much in the first 3 events, but I think that was because the WrestleMania 19 card was quite strong. Yeah. I do think we have set ourselves up for some fun moving forward. I think where we go from here after WrestleMania, the post-WrestleMania time period, I think is where we're going to have some real fun. I think there's going to be some significant changes moving forward in storylines and matches as we move through the rest of this journey over the next few episodes.
Mm-hmm. Now, these 3 shows were kind of easy to fix, but now with WrestleMania, obviously on episode 2 or part 2 of our series in August, we'll be doing Backlash, Judgment Day, and then we're not doing Insurrection, the British show. We're not doing that.
No.
Backlash, Judgment Day, and the Raw only Bad Blood. And boy, do we have a lot of changes, because there's a lot of things we'll be changing about that. So, because obviously we'll have a different World Heavyweight Champion. Of course, we will have Goldberg, figure out what to do with him. Yeah, we got a lot of things now. Not burning out, burning out Booker T quick. Making RVD a stud saves other opportunities, because obviously between WrestleMania and Backlash, Kevin Nash comes back. Dave, we got to work with all these cripples. Every Triple H opponent was like a MASH unit.
I think we've also worked Scott Steiner well into the company, and I think it'd be interesting to see what we do with him moving forward, because we've just had him in a prominent spot against the Undertaker in a heel role. So Scott Steiner's sort of come in as the big killer heel after his initial arrival, and I'd be interested to see what we do with him moving forward.
Yeah, I agree too. Because he can. We didn't use Test, which I'm fine with. Yeah.
And the other thing coming up in the post WrestleMania era is we've got the real we've got the opportunity where there are some future big time players that are going to start getting more to do with them. Like we're at the time when John Cena is starting to get his real rise to prominence, and we'll have later in the year, we've got the working of Evolution and their work when they come in. So we've got how we're going to fit them into some of the storylines we've been building. I think will be interesting.
I agree. Well, there you go. There is part 1 of our 4-part journey through the Looking Glass, rebooking 2003. Dave, always a pleasure. That was a ton of fun, and more to come. We say it every day. Dave's all over the Facebook place to be Facebook page. Find him, talk to him. He likes talking. You know where I am. Go, and if you're, no, never mind. By the time this episode airs, the ballot would have already happened. But we do have a ballot. We had a ballot out for the July Wrestle Tracks. We'll see what show it is. I have a feeling I know what it is. And join, of course, Place to Be Nation's main event. All the great stuff. Where are you up to on? I'm so behind on my listening, Dave. Where are we up to on Cronoso?
We are in the we're in the final stages of building up towards Survivor Series 1990. So that's exciting. We're working our way through 90. We're in between. We're doing all the sort of the TV highlights at the moment in the build up to Survivor Series. So that's exciting.
Yes, I agree. So keep checking that out, of course, over on the No So, and of course, the Backbone Wrestling has their great shows. We, of course, here have our good stuff as well. All the great stuff Luke Jennings does, the Memphis Continental Wrestling Cast, on top of Old Smoky, Crossing the Mid-Atlantic, Monday Night Project, and Hamburg All-Stars, all great shows. We'll be back in August, and we will be booking the next quarter. So we will be booking Backlash, Judgment Day, and the first, and this is where the fun stuff comes, Dave, the first brand-only show, Bad Blood from Houston. So that should be fun. Backlash is in Worcester, Mass. Judgment Day, I think, was in Charlotte, if I remember correctly. I think it was Charlotte. And Bad Blood was in Houston. So that should be fun. Have a great rest of July. Be safe. Swim. Don't have your hands blown off by fireworks. And Dave and I will see you for part 2 in August through the Looking Glass.